All for One is finally dead as our GOAT Bakugo was able to stop his ultimate attack.
What the f is this piece of shit?
Grossness aside, this ability is insane as it combines every quirk All for One has obtained over his 150 years of reign. But Bakugo's plus ultra moment is able to stop it and put an end to this menace once and for all. However, things aren't looking too good for Bakugo's boyfriend as Shigaraki has finally stolen Deku's quirk.
Come on, man.
We know from chapter 1 that Deku has been narrating the story of My Hero Academia where he becomes the greatest hero to ever live. But us and everyone in our community have been predicting with All for One's demise that One for All is next, making Deku a quirkless hero who will be able to continue in making change to society in his own way. The story will conclude on how power isn't all that make one a hero, rather it's the will to save someone, and going full circle to a quirkless Deku saving Bakugo. This is how My Hero is gonna end. Meanwhile, Bakugo will claim the spot that he had always desired to be the #1 hero. Bakugo's journey was of self-discovery, with his motivation to be a better person and a hero he can be proud of. It has allowed him to ascend to a higher level, standing side by side with Deku as another symbol of peace. Both All for One and Bakugo parallel each other with their similar viewpoints as children, but there's a distinct difference between the two that gave Bakugo the upper hand and the ability to kill the Demon King. All for One's past is one that has established him as nothing more than pure evil, as we see him kill his younger brother Yoichi. We all knew this was coming through All for One's possessive nature, where Yoichi was nothing more to him than a toy given to a child. In fact, All for One named him Yoichi as it means give and first, representing how his little bro was the first thing ever given to him. After Kudo, the second user, took that toy from him like a angry brat, All for One decided if I can't have him, no one can. So 2 months later, he found Yoichi and wasted him in no time, leaving only a hand behind, which was the same hand All for One reached out for when they were children. This parallels Shigaraki's hands and shows that All for One viewed such a traumatic experience for the young Tenko as nothing more than a twist of irony, thinking back to this moment. Seeing his friend dead on the ground, Kudo is naturally traumatized. His eyes are full of tears while All for One's are completely white, having no reaction to his brother's death. Some time passes and All for One examines his brother's hand in an apartment, realizing that the stockpiling quirk he gave his brother is no longer within the body and that this is completely unprecedented. As we all know, this was the beginning of One for All, as it had been transferred to Kudo. The third user, Bruce, is examining the second user's body as he starts to feel weird. Bruce asks if he was touched by All for One during the battle, but Kudo doesn't care about that. He just wants to know what the f is wrong with him. It's been revealed that there are now 2 quirk factors inside Kudo: Gear Shift and a very small, almost insignificant One for All. We then see the 2 perspectives of Yoichi, one from the eyes of his brother and one from Kudo's. Yoichi told All for One that he was the reason for his survival, which in a way is true. Yoichi's malnutrition would have left him dead. Also, when All for One reached out to his little bro, it was seen as a helping hand and not that of possession. However, as time went on, Yoichi realized that his brother simply did not care about him. And if he had even an ounce of compassion, All for One's quirk could have been the most charitable power in the whole world. Unfortunately, this message doesn't get through to All for One, and even after Yoichi's death, all he cares about is retrieving what he had lost. All for One realizes that his brother's soul still exists within the quirk he passed down to Kudo. This is obviously what prompts him to go after One for All so that he can obtain the toy that was stolen from him. This backstory then gives us a full recap of the entire conflict between All for One and One for All, as we see him kill the second and then the third, meet the doctor, and everything else we see leading up to his battle with Prime All Might. Shifting back to the present, we finally get an answer as to why Bakugo reminds All for One so much of Kudo. Yeah, it's the fire in his eyes.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing. You know, we all thought Bakugo was Kudo's descendant, or maybe Bakugo time traveled back to the past to become the second user, but we are all proved wrong. That is not the case here, because All for One hunted down and killed every single member of Kudo's family, as well as all the women and children close to him, so there's no way Bakugo could have Kudo's DNA, right? But there's still a chance, like, maybe Kudo had a side chick, you know? Who knows? He is the second user. He must have had fangirls, right? All For One then realizes that he can't keep fighting, as if he wastes more time on Bakugo, his body will degrade and he won't have the ability to fight when he gets to Shigaraki. And so decides to kill Bakugo and get to Tomura by releasing his ultimate attack, combining every quirk he possesses. This ability, well, wait for the name, you guys. This name is incredible. One of the greatest names of all time, alright? This ability is known as Release Every Quirk Factor. All For One, go! Okay, don't let this goofy ass name fool you, because this is strong. It's so strong that even Yoichi felt its pressure from inside the vestige world. All For One's goal is to use the culmination of quirks to propel himself at an unbelievably fast rate. This is his final gamble, as doing so will revert him into a baby. If he fails, then there's no chance for him to take over Shigaraki. However, he's fully determined to complete his goal, to continue holding the entire superhuman society in the palm of his hands. But Bakugo says, hold my beer.
Know your fucking place, trash.
Ready to stand tall, as he refuses to let All For One get in his way and uses big brain.
What the
Yo, yeah, I'm shocked too. Bakugo has always been this head-first character. This man is playing chess in his mind now, completely outsmarting All For One. Bakugo explains that since rain affects his quirk, he covered up his explosive sweat drops with normal ones, then threw those drops in All For One's mouth towards the beginning of their fight and waited for them to explode. This man is a genius. He clearly took notes from Deku's notebooks. All For One is of course flabbergasted by this. He can't possibly understand being outsmarted by a 16-year-old kid. Bakugo then proceeds to obliterate this man and using a howitzer impact and several other explosions, pushing him back. As All For One's body reverts further, becoming smaller and weaker, his stolen quirk factors start taking advantage by not cooperating the way they should. This is due to the slow degradation of All For One's mental state battle. His desire for Shigaraki, anger for Bakugo and Deku, all of it allowed All For One to become the most fragile we have seen him in the entire series. He can't cope with all the L's he's taking. This instability allows Bakugo to finally deliver his plus ultra explosion right up in All For One's face, and everything comes to its fulcrum as All For One reverts back to his true self, a little baby. Okay, bear with me for a second. This man, at the end of the day, is just a crying child who is mad he couldn't have everything. He isn't this super strategic villain or a criminal demon lord anymore. What happened to that? He's a literal child who, in his final moments of life, whines about hating the world because it wouldn't accommodate his desire to rule and control everything. This fight went from being a clash between goats to hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby.
I'm confused right now.
Like, what the hell, bro? Like, you're telling me this guy killed all the previous users of One For All besides All Might and Deku, single-handedly manipulated Shigaraki into becoming his vessel and ruled the underworld, but couldn't feel Bakugo's sweat in his mouth?
Brother, this guy stinks!
All For One then uses a last-ditch effort to kill Bakugo, manifesting a spike from his mother's quirk, but it fails too. This is actually pretty cool. So that was the first ever quirk he gained from his mother, right? When he stole his mother's quirk. Now that's his last-ditch effort. He's using his mother as a baby to try to kill Bakugo. But if your big-ass attack combining all the quirks didn't work, why the do you think this little spike's gonna work on Bakugo? Stupid. Alright, the nightmare is over. This dude turns into an embryo and then a sperm cell. Bakugo is barely standing after this ordeal, but he raises his arm similar to All Might, showcasing his victory. I mean, good for Bakugo, but damn, this is a really pathetic send-off for one who is supposed to be the main villain of this story. Thematically, there was nothing wrong with All For One, but the delivery just felt short, similar to that of Demon Slayer. Like, this dude, like, Horikoshi stole Muzan's beat, like, bar for bar, flow for flow, you know? I mean, one amazing thing we did notice was Deku's relationship with Bakugo paralleling Shigaraki with All For One. Alright, let me explain. You're probably saying, hey, what? You're stupid. Bakugo is a hero. He's not a super evil person like All For One. What do you mean? Okay, listen. Both were born with incredible power and believed that because of their abilities, they were inherently better than others. Obviously, both wanted to pursue completely opposite paths, but it was that strong superiority complex that led to their egotistic personalities. In simpler terms, both All For One and Bakugo thought they were him and silenced anyone who said otherwise. How Bakugo treated Deku as a kid was in the same sort of aggressive, bully-like manner All For One treated Yoichi. I mean, in episode 1, Bakugo literally tells Deku to control F4 himself. In this sense, Bakugo was fighting his own demons, having to completely annihilate his old flaws and stand proud as the reformed man we know him as. On the other hand, both Deku and Shigaraki are victims of society, having to experience the constant injustices and flaws that came with a superhuman community solely reliant on Superman wannabes. The only difference is that Deku was approached by All Might and Shigaraki was approached by All For One. But this could have easily been flipped and the two could have followed completely opposite paths. These fight matchups also solidify the contrast between a villain like All For One and Shigaraki, with All For One being pure evil and Shigaraki just being a victim. Throughout the series, Deku has made it clear he's been able to distinguish these two types of villains, which has prompted him to save Shigaraki from the darkness that is All For One post-paranormal liberation war. As the two's opposing natures represent the moral dichotomy of the series and will help Deku become the #1 hero of this era and the next symbol of peace. The truth of the matter is, All For One's defeat was imminent. He desperately needed someone to save him, just like Shigaraki. His younger brother was that person, but All For One rejected him, and as we know, Yoichi wasn't able to accomplish this, but Deku was with Bakugo. This further proves why Bakugo was the perfect final opponent for the Demon King, and that tiny difference is what has allowed Bakugo to prevail and come out the victor. It's all thanks to our boy Deku. Now, all that's left is the battle between him and Shigaraki, a fight that has been years in the making. Horikoshi is really about to cook up a 5-star meal. Okay, let's be real here. Probably gonna be a 3-star meal. I don't know about the 5-star meal with my hero right now. Let's be honest, All For One was an F-tier villain at the end, okay? I said it, it needed to be said! But seriously though, all the themes, personal relationships, and stakes are in this one battle now, and it starts off with a bang as Shigaraki gets close up to Deku to finally steal his quirk, Danger Sense. How did this happen? Well, since All For One finally perished, his control and mental burden on Shigaraki has also disappeared. All in all, Shigaraki has pretty much gotten a boost, and his speed to match up Deku without completely disintegrating has increased. I think it's safe to assume that this is the climax of the series and my hero will finally end next year. But what has not ended is Black Clover, because Tabata dropped a new banger chapter after 3 months, so go check out what the hell happened with Asta and wait, what the hell? The Black Bulls are 2,000 times stronger now. When did that happen?